people I slept with were in Los Angeles. I really, really, really rarely slept with anyone on the road. Mostly because it's like, I like to have a good time, and you're not gonna, if you sleep with someone, that's your night.
Yep.
You have to hang with them all the time. That's the rule. You know what I mean?
It's the hours of commitment around it you're not into.
No, exactly. That's the thing. When someone's like, I'm just going to hook up. I'm like, so you're going to talk with this person until you have sex. Then after, then you go to sleep and you wake up and you got to wake up next to the stranger and then talk more and then go to breakfast. That's your choice. That's your choice. Rather than taking your business to the bathroom in parlance and handling yourself, you are going to blow a whole night on this stranger.
One human.
You know?
I love that that's what's chapping your ass is the like commitment around the one night hookup.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like I'm not that psycho that's just like, well, we can go around the corner, you can blow me, but then I have an evening.
Yeah.
It's like there's no.
Yeah.
I can't fathom being that person that's just going to be able to compartmentalize.
Yeah.
And like it's no. I just rather not.
Not mess with it.
Cool.
I get it.
I mean, if I had some undeniable attraction to someone or whatnot, sure, yeah. And I'm just sitting here. I was so choosy when I was on the road and stuff. It didn't seem to make sense like it did in the city I lived in for some reason. Where I'm not doing shows. I'm just, out. And I did spend a lot of my life just getting drunk and, hitting on women. I'm not gonna lie to you. I did. Not proud, just being honest. But it's funny, I was talking about this on Bert's podcast where Bert's like, I've only slept with 6 women. Like, I'm just like, okay, that's great. Like he always says that about like, people think he's this big partier, so he hooked up all the time, but he's just clueless. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, that was me too. But the thing is, men tend to obviously compartmentalize way more than women and go, oh, it's just sex, it's just a body. It's like, it's not true. There's something you are sharing with that person that's just more than your body. And you're not just hooking up to hook up. You're hooking up for a little bit of validation for sure, companionship for sure. Your loneliness is relieved for a period of 10 to 24 hours or whatever. It's just like there's more to it than just getting your nut, for want of another term. It's like there's more to it. And that's something. And like the guys are right, dudes, of course, when Bert put that clip up, we're writing like, you guys are fragile AF, and it's like, oh, am I or am I aware? Like it's so true.
Yeah, and it's inherently misogynistic against yourself as a gender to be like, you guys are soft. Why? Because you express that you don't like to like hit it and quit it.
Well, it's not even. It can be hit it and quit it, but you hit it and quit it. Part of that was not just for sex.
Yeah.
Most of it was, but there's still something there where there's an exchange. Otherwise you would have just, done it yourself.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that you don't really think about until you're like older. And I definitely spent too much time going like, oh, it's just physical,
Yeah.
Whereas it was really me wanting it to be.
Sure.
Sure. For sure.
You've evolved. I'm proud of you.
A little.
Oh. Ariel is where, let me tell you. Ariel was right on Main Street in Santa Monica, so brunch was like a 3-hour wait. It was there were no reservations, or no, there were reservations, but like if you just walked in, it was like minimum 3-hour waits. So many Saturdays, and it was just, I don't think I was getting paid enough because people were so angry, and if you had to get really good at guessing how long the wait was going to be. So if you said it was only an hour and now it's an hour and a half and their table's still not ready, like that's on me, and people are yelling at me. Like just so many angry people. But the worst experience I had at Ariel was, it was a Saturday and there was a party of 20 that had a reservation at 11. So I was prepared for that, and I had the table ready to go. We moved like a big section together for them. And then at 10:30, a party came in, And she was like, "Hi, we have a reservation for 20." And I was like, "Oh, great."
Oh, Chase,
We
don't
have your
tell me.
table.
No, no,
I
Chase.
said, "We have it for under a rose." And she said, because there were so many people in her head, she was like, "Yeah, I'm sure it's under a rose." I seat the table.
Chase.
Okay, get ready. 11 o'clock, the actual party of 20 comes in. That party did not have a reservation. They assumed wrong.
Oh my God.
So a party of 20 comes in at 11, and I'm like,
oh no.
and by the way, it's packed. It's every single table's filled. Like, everyone's eating. This isn't like I can just seat a party of 20. I had to go up to every single table. Like, I had to do a puzzle, and people were eating, and I was like, "I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to move you
No.
over here."
No.
And I had to do like a jigsaw puzzle to make a table of 20 happen. And it was the most stressful day of my life.
I
And I
can't-
did it. People moved. I was very like, "Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to move." And I I'm good at talking to people, I guess.
Oh
But
my-
let me tell you, I was livid that that party of 20
That-
told me that they were the right party.
See, that would have been I'm petty. That would have been my first move, would have been to go to the party of 20 and say, and like find the person I spoke to and say, "You're certain you had a reservation? Because it seems like you didn't." And then just see what they would
I
say.
definitely did talk to that party of 20. But like at that point,
Too late.
they were seating, they had ordered,
Yeah.
there was food coming. Like it was, I couldn't.
And what are the odds that on the one day where there is a
What are the
reservation, like
odds?
what that is,
What are the odds?
I can't
This
even-
I don't know how certain things just happen to me because
Girl.
I think this is why I have so much comedy material, because the things in my life are just too much.
Okay.
I have to talk about it in comedy.
I want to go back though because okay, so we've had the perspective from a servers and bartenders as far as how brunch is a nightmare from hell. And so, but I've never actually been able to ask a host how it's a nightmare from hell for you as well. So, was it a bottomless mimosa place? That Ariel?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we're already off to the races. So what were the things as a host, apart from jockeying people that are lying to you about reservations and you having to guess the time? What was it that, like, was it generally people were just mad about the wait time, or would you also have to deal with the drunk, like, as they're leaving, they're walking out on a check and now you're responsible for pulling them back in? Or did you have any of the trickle down from that?
No, but one time a waiter stole someone's phone. A busboy stole someone's phone, and then they had Find My Phone. So they like came. This was like a couple days later. They came to the restaurant and they were like, "Hey, it says that my phone is here." Like they were able to track it down, and the busboy like fled. He booked it. He didn't want to get in trouble. And he was the only busboy at that day. They thought it was going to be a lighter day. So then I started having to bus tables and bring drinks. And that's not my job. And people were waiting like such a long time for their drinks because I was forgetting. And they were like, I wasn't trained in that. So like having to do the busboy's job and host added a lot of complications. He got fired.
I would imagine. So how were they able to do, I mean, besides the Find My iPhone and the fact that he was like, "I'm out," did they figure out he must have stolen it and then kept it at the restaurant? Because if it's a couple days
Yeah.
later.
So I think what happened was they did the Find My iPhone and it took him to the busboy's house.
Oh,
And so
okay.
they went to the house, and I guess the roommate was like, "He's at Ariel." And they were like, "Oh, that must have been where it happened." And then they came to Ariel and was like, "We need to talk to this person."
And so were they,
Their phone.
and so did he fled, did he flee with the phone, or did he leave the phone at Ariel?
I'm not actually sure, but he booked it. Like we were like, "Oh, he's in the back," and he was never to be found again.
Oh my God. I cannot.
And so we didn't realize he fled either. So people were just angry that like their waters weren't coming, their drinks weren't coming. And then we realized like, oh, we don't have a busboy. So then I was cleaning the tables. I just really hated that job.
Oh yeah.
So how did that work? I mean, were you just like, I mean, you know,
all of it. All of it. I drank all of it. My ex was partied too, so it was like I'd leave and I was allowed to grab like stuff from the cooler. So I'd just show up with beers and, you know, like a half pint of something, and we just sit on our porch. It actually was kind of that was one of my favorite jobs. I mean, there were a lot of bad experiences there just because it's right in a pretty like is a lot of foot traffic. It's where a lot of buses converge from all over the city. So it's a lot of people from all over the place come down there. There was a lot of drugs, but we provided alcohol and cigarettes to everybody. So you were kind of known, like, and it was just, I saw some stuff. I saw some shit.
Care to elaborate? Do you feel comfortable talking?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, more houseless people having sex than I care to ever see again. Like, I walked out the back door one time, and it was like, it was an alleyway. There was just trash everywhere, and it was like a kind of a loading area. You had to walk up a little bit of a ramp, and there's this space, and this couple, this woman is going down on the guy in the trash. And I was like, hey, no. Go. You guys get out of here. And they were like, oh, geez, sorry. So I went back inside. And then I came back out 5 minutes later, and now they're having sex. And I was like, hey, what are you doing? And he was like, I didn't think it would be a big deal if we just finished or something like that. I was like, I didn't tell you to finish. I told you to get out of here. And it was full pants around their ankles in trash. Like, it was so depraved.
But he was like, hey, I thought you were mad about the blowjob. We did stop what you asked me to stop.
We stopped the blowjob. We went straight to full penny. And it was the weirdest. It was the weirdest job because there were things that we sold that were quite clearly for drug users. Like we had these things called glass roses, which were roses. They were like a small miniature rose
where you
that
put your
had been
crack
blown out of glass. Yeah, because the whole cylinder of it was hollow.
It's for crack. What else is that for?
That was why. You would have thought the city was in love with just giving each other. It was a city of love. Though, if you didn't know that every person, like dozens of times, hey, do you guys sell glass roses? And it'd be like, yeah. And they were exactly that. Some company manufactured these tiny glass roses, but they were hollow all the way through. They were glass. They were a perfect crack pipe.
I mean,
and we sold them for like $1.25. And we must. They were, and the amount of single cigarettes, which you weren't supposed to do.
You sold Lucy's?
Yeah, we sold Lucy's for a long time, and that was like a big thing too. For $0.25 for a cigarette, and I mean, they were making $4 or $5 when a pack at that time was 89 cents or $1. There was like a full 300% markup on that pack, so. It was like I don't know. It was just a crazy job, but I loved it because some mornings I could sit on we had the newspaper boxes or whatever in a line, and you could just sit on those on a break. And I don't know if you've lived in the middle of an area like that ever, but when it's in a good mood, it has mood.
It's the electric. It's the best feeling in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, hey, man, what's going on? What's up? People stop and talk to you. They move along. You're part of this bustling, problematic, complicated community. And I don't know. There was a part of it that I truly loved.
Easy least favorite job. Oh, we forgot to mention this. Right, I hated this job so much. When you asked me to list jobs, I took it out of my brain.
Wow.
But I was a checkout guy in a supermarket, and I hated that job more than life itself because you weren't allowed to talk to the customers.
What?
They said don't talk to the customers. This was a big company as well, one of the major major UK chains. But I couldn't amuse myself. It was just, beep, beep.
I don't understand the mentality of not speaking to customers.
No, but you weren't supposed to, because you'd slow things down. And so I would try to get the beeps to do come as you are. Obviously, like the tempo, you couldn't change the pitch.
Sure.
And I talked to people and stuff, and I hated that job. I just never went back. I don't even think I just never went back. They're still waiting for me.
I bet they are. How many? How long did you actually work there?
Oh, I might have done 3 shifts in total. I hated. I would have preferred to have been stacking the shelves.
Right, because then at least someone could potentially ask you a question and acknowledge that you're a human.
You could stack the shelves of stone, though, couldn't you? So
yeah, I bet.
you could have got through. You could have got through the day easier. But oh my god, yeah! Like anyone who works, I am so nice to anyone on a checkout.
I bet you are.
I'm the nicest person, because that job, you only do that job if you can't do anything else. Ugh. That job has to fit in with the rest of your life. That is a job you are only doing for the paycheck, and the paycheck is appalling. Oh, yeah, I feel sorry for anybody who needs to do that job.
What's the weirdest thing you've been asked to do whilst on the clock?
Put out a cigarette in someone else's mouth.
Oh, I have to know the context, please.
Yeah. This was in teaching, obviously. So it was in the statistics week. After my circus, the circus themed nightclub where I worked in Shanghai closed. I was still in Shanghai for another year or so. And so a lot of my fellow performers and I did freelance stuff. And so what that often looked like would be, as I was saying, is sort of a big birthday party or a company dinner. One thing that's fun is that in China, at least then, this was 2015, 2016, companies could show that they were very fancy by hiring foreigners to dance for them. So there was a specific ask for performers who were white, basically, and non-Chinese, but mostly white. There's some serious racism going on there as well. But so we did it. Okay. But then we would also get hired by these very rich, very bored people who had these penthouse apartments, and they would host these not quite Eyes Wide Shut style, but wannabe. No one was having sex or doing it, but people were probably going to after we left. And so we would get hired. A lot of my friends were burlesque performers, and so I picked up some of that. I'm very bad at it, but I could do it. And we put on point shoes, and we'd cover our mouths with a cloth mask, and we'd walk around smoking cigarettes, and they taught me how to put a cigarette out on my own tongue, which basically you pool a lot of spit in the kind of bowl of your tongue, and you can put it out there. And you just move quickly, and it only kind of hurts a little bit. And so we were at one of these things, and the main rich dude, he's jacked up on all the drugs and all the whatever, comes out, and he was like, now put it out on me. And you're just like this. And I mean, there was a point where I was like, what am I doing with my life? I did it. He was fine. But it was, you're just like, this isn't the plan.
This ain't it. This ain't the
fun. Yeah.
You're fun. Having a crisis of conscience in the middle of it. Well, I'm still going to do this because I was hired to do this.
Obviously, the show must go on.
Yeah, I mean, it must.
Music is playing. We got to go. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
this dude is going to pay us. And, and you get paid in China in cash. It's a very cash-based society in general. You definitely get paid in cash. And their 100 kwai notes, which are about $20, are these bright pink bills. And so you kind of get this feeling that you're getting Monopoly money at the end, but they're really big. And so you just do all this crazy fucked up shit. And then they're like, and here is some pink joke money for you. I mean, it's worth money. It's just, the whole thing is so strange.
What a dystopian reality. That's very cool. You need to write a book.
From the 70s, if you look at the back of their second album, they're all partying at this bar. The bar they're at is a TGI Fridays.
I'll die.
But in 1972, it was the coolest bar in the world.
I love it.
And now it just looks funny that they're partying at TGI Fridays. So in the 80s, the Hard Rock at the Beverly Center was the place, and celebrities would go there because they had gold cards that would take them into a secret elevator and take them up to the private thing. Across from that, where on Beverly, it's a Granville now, across from Cedars, it was Jerry's Deli.
Oh, that's a weird placement for that. There's no parking over there.
There's no parking. Yeah, we had valet, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I think. So I worked the graveyard shift there. It was open 24 hours. I went in at 11 p.m. and worked till 7 a.m. And first off, the psychological mindfuck that you're driving to work at 10:30 and you're seeing everybody go out to movies, and
It's brutal.
it's
I don't know why, but it's
brutal.
brutal. Yes.
Oh my God, it's brutal. You're just like, I was like, this is the worst. And so I'd get there, and here's the thing about Jerry's Deli is that you had to work that shift in order to get up to the dinner shift. I lasted, I think, 3 or 4 months.
Months?
Oh yeah. It was
ugh.
a fucking abusive kind of place. So we would get there and everything would be fine up until 2 a.m. That's when all
witching
the
hour.
clubs
Yes, close.
start emptying.
Yes.
And everyone came to Jerry's Deli. So Jerry's turned into the club. And so from 2 a.m. until 5, it was madness. And when I say madness, I mean people, every booth, every table is taken up. In between the aisles, every place there is a human because they're all waiting to get a table. So you would be at a table taking an order, and as soon as you're finished, you would turn around and you couldn't move because you're in this giant shoulder crowd, and you had to like kind of fight your way through this crowd to make it back to the kitchen.
And are people stopping you along the way like, hey, I want to order from you or whatever?
Everybody's doing everything wrong. And so the reason it got bad was because Jerry's is like, it was open 24 hours, so there's no doors. So there's they hang those giant plastic walls down to kind of make it feel like it's inside. So that's the first layer. And then that's the exterior part of the restaurant. And then there's a patio, but that's also enclosed with another piece of plastic, vinyl thing, window thing. So it's really in each and every so many feet, there's a slit that lets you out. So, and this thing is an L that goes around the whole thing. So the restaurant's huge, and there are exits everywhere.
People are walking out on
People
every
walk
bill.
out every night.
Were you responsible for covering the bill?
No, that was a lot of the fighting was like, I'm not, fucking covering this
I'm not a
because they can
security guard.
leave
Yes.
everywhere.
This
And
is
the-
my point.
The
yes.
managers sort of got that, and I don't think I ever paid
Good.
for a walkout because
Good.
it was like, it was part of doing business at Jerry's. And it was also like we'd have fights because you have they would arrive drunk because they're coming from the club
Already.
and on weekends we'd have undercover cops sitting at the bar because we'd had somebody stabbed and somebody pulled a gun at one point.
When you were there?
No, not when I was there. It was
Prior to
me working there.
Okay.
So that's why they were there. And then the amount of walkouts were insane. And I would see, I remember one walkout, and people were like, the thing that bugs me the most is that the people that don't have the money, but they want you to think they have the money, those are the people that walk out.
Sure are.
And so you are literally, I'd see servers chasing people out of the restaurant, and they are literally jumping into a Mercedes Speedway to get away from a $50 check.
Fucking unbelievable. And that affects your bag. That affects your
Yeah.
tips. You're not getting tipped on a walkout.
No, you're not. And
Ugh.
then I would have, I remember one of my the worst walkout I saw was a birthday party. Had to be almost 20 people. I'm waiting on this giant table the whole time. And then this is like pre-Venmo, everything. And so one guy's like, it's like, everyone just pay me and I'll put it on my credit card. So everyone, I'll give you the check. And he's like, he took everyone's money and he just hung out the whole time. Everyone eventually started peeling away and leaving. And then he waited until I was off doing something else, and he just took off with everyone's money.
What
And
a pile
it's
of shit person.
Total pile of shit person.
Wow.
And I remember telling I was like, I am not paying for that.
Hell no.
And it came down to the reason that I quit was because so everyone arrives drunk. Everyone wants their table. Ugh. And everyone wants to be there because there are also celebrities everywhere, sitting everywhere. And so no one's going to leave because TLC is over here and George Clooney and
Holy
Noel
shit.
Wiley are over here and the paparazzi are like there, but they're all
Everyone.
taking breaks. It's like, and they're the best tippers of anybody. Paparazzi
correct.
guys will
They get it.
fucking tip you like mad.
Yeah, they get it.
And that's also where I learned. I saw like Call Girls for the first time.
Oh,
I'd
really?
never seen that in LA, and I was like, I just remember this this gorgeous girl, like just in the booth, just climbing on top of this guy that looked like Harvey Weinstein. I was like, what is going on there? And I was like, I have no idea. And then the next night she was back with a completely different guy doing this. I was like, oh, okay. It just clicked. It just clicked.
Pepper from Texas just got it. Everybody calm down.
All right. I had never heard of Heidi Fleiss, but then I knew who Heidi Fleiss was. So every table is packed, and there's a wait list up at the hostess stand. But also, no one's making a line. They don't make them wait outside. They can just wander into the restaurant. And like I said, you're eating, and there's just people right up against your table just standing there chatting.
Ugh.
It's
gives me anxiety.
It's claustrophobic. And it's literally, I mean, it's like being in a concert. You're just moving in this shoulder crowd.
And you're trying to do your job.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
So as soon as people would get up and leave their table, these people would sit down.
And you're like, no, there's a wait list.
And I'd be like, no. I was like, you have to go up and wait. And they're like, no, just let it sit here. I was like, no. And I'd go tell the host, I was like, get these people out of my section. And so the host, the dick that he was, would go up there and take bribes. And so he'd walk up, and I would hear him like I'm standing right here. He's like, you guys got to get up. He's like, no, just let it stay. He's like, all right, $10 right now. And he's like, they give him $10. And he's like, then I would wait on him, and I would get no tip.
Yeah.
Then the dickhead that he was, after the shift would come up, and he's like,
look at all my money.
Where's my tip out for the host? And I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me?
Are you joking? He'd try to fleece you for money?
Yeah, he wanted me to tip the host stand like we did.
No.
I was like, you just took bribes from my table and I didn't get a tip. And he was like, who fucking cares? You're supposed to tip the host. And we almost got in a fight in the kitchen. And he was like, oh, let's go outside. I'll fight you right now outside. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, I'm not tipping. I was like, I did not give him any money. But after that, I was like, this is too much fucking shit. It's like, I'm going to get in a fight. People are walking out. The host wants to fight me. And I was like, the manager was like just there. The manager looked and sounded exactly like Joe Pesci. And he was just there to pick up girls.
Honorary title of manager. He was doing none of the job. He was
none of the job.
Getting his,
and he was just like, he sounded exactly like Joe Pesci. It was hilarious.
I want to micro-fixate on a couple of these. Dry cleaner. Were you around the smells and the chemicals and the whatever?
Yeah. No, I was in the front. Checking people in. So people would bring in their dirty, stanky clothes and just everything. And we had to dig through their pockets to make sure there was nothing that was going to like mess up the machines.
Sure.
And we had to like mark the stains, which is disgusting. And now I literally, to the point now where if I have a stain on something that I need to take to the dry cleaners, I just throw it away. I don't want to go in there and be like, oh, this is where I bled. Right here, this is blood, or like, oh, this is where I spilled chocolate down the front of my shirt at Easter. Just get rid of that. Like, it's disgusting and horrible. And this woman, and you talk about horror stories, this one, I was probably about like 19, I think, maybe when I worked there.
So I was going to ask, okay.
Young. And this woman brings in a garbage bag, which is never a good sign.
No.
She brings in a garbage bag and she's like, hi, I need to get my couch cushions cleaned. And I was like, oh, okay. So she starts pulling it out and she's like, my cat threw up on this one. And I was like, ma'am. And she's like, so if you could just mark that. And I was like, oh God. She pulled this out and it smelled so bad. And so I start like marking it with the tape because like you have to mark it so they know where to scrub the stains. I just was like, how do you not just try to clean it at home a little bit first?
Yeah, like get the chunks out.
Get the chunks out, something. But yeah, no, she just brought it in. She's like, oh, my cat threw up on it. Can you get the stain out? And I was like, oh, what is my life?
What is my life?
Get that college degree so I don't have to do this. No. But that was not a fun experience, the dry cleaner.
So did really gross. What made you pick that? Because you said you were in college.
I just needed a job. I was, I do not come from money. My mom was a single mom. We were hashtag poverty. And we were,
shout out to poverty.
Yeah, shout out to poverty.
Was there ever a moment where you were like, I hate this? Or was it mostly because you seem to have like a pretty friendly relationship with all of your jobs? You don't seem bitter about any of the customer service stuff. So
I liked them. I liked them all. I mean, there's days though where you're just like, I hate this so much.
What makes you say that? What would be a day like that?
Bad at scheduling myself. The worst day was I worked the New Year's Day after the New Year's Eve story I told you.
No.
I worked the next morning at 6 a.m. I performed for 3,000 people. I got multiple applause breaks. I made, my uncle paid me very well. He paid me very well. And then at 6 a.m., I was back at the airport getting yelled at because someone's eggs weren't cooked right.
I've said this before, and I think it can come off, it doesn't with you, but it can come off as this egotistical, like, I was just on stage, how dare you? It's not that. I wish people could understand. It's just, it's the highest high you've ever felt in your life, and you are so in the flow, and you're like, this forever. To go from that within less than 24 hours back to, you pile of shit, I'm going to talk to you any old kind of way, it's just such a rapid fall off of a cliff that it's like maybe it wouldn't hurt as much if the theater were smaller or if you bombed, but it's something about doing really well. You're like, I don't think I can hear it about your eggs today, actually, ma'am. I'm not interested. Oh, it's brutal.
The first guest that came in that day did take a picture with me because they were at the show.
No way.
Yeah, they were like, oh my God. And I was like, yeah, because I have bits about working at the airport. They're like, you do work here. And I'm like, I do. And I'm working right now. And I had to have my boss take a picture. And he was like, holy shit, who are you? And I was like, I'm nobody, man.
Don't worry about it, man.
I'm working right now for you.
Yeah, I'm your employee. That's all I am.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I think I know what you're going to say to this, but no, I'm not trying to lead you. What was your least favorite of all of these jobs that you've had?
I'm trying to think if there's one other than the obvious one.
Okay.
I sold, also when I was 16, I was a telemarketer. I tried to sell grave plots over the phone.
Dave.
Did that. Yeah.
Oh, God. So you try to convince people.
Cherokee Memorial Park in Canton, Georgia, big cemetery. And then I had a script. And I thought it was great because I got to work alone. I would come in at like 6 p.m. and then my boss would leave and I had a key. I would just be by myself in this little office at the cemetery.
What are we talking
There's another word than cemetery.
Mortuary? I don't know. What do we call it?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, just this little freestanding house and office. And then we had like the big, 30-acre cemetery. But I'd come in at 6. And as soon as I get there, he'd leave. And I had this script and then just, I don't know where they got the phone numbers, but just, pages and pages of potential customers. Hi, this is Dave from Cherokee Memorial Park. The inevitable is going to happen to us all, but click. I did that job 6 months, never sold one.
Not one.
Didn't sell, not one. And,
wow.
Every day my boss was like, I'm like, man, I'm trying,
How did you deal with that much rejection? This must have set you up to be able to handle comedy because that amount of rejection in a row for 6 months. Like people get rejected if they're asking someone out for a date and it ruins them. I can't imagine. I mean, I guess because it wasn't necessarily personal, but at a certain point I would take it personally. I'd be like, why am I not able to do this?
Yeah. Yeah, and eventually I would just start altering the script, because I know you're going to hang up. Hey, this is Dave from Cherokee Memorial Park. Are you going to die soon? We're all going to die. It's going to happen. Click.
And then I got paid to do consensual sex work, which was a way better dynamic than just being like pinched and made uncomfortable by my manager who was paying me like $7 an hour or something.
Disgusting.
Disgusting. So yeah, just throwing that out there,
yep,
right?
Disgusting.
Like it's not like my service industry jobs didn't have the sex part of it. I just had
it was not consensual
tools for self-advocacy.
Yeah, and also you were not you didn't sign up for it. You signed up to do a job that wasn't
exactly. It was not consensual. I was like, I'm here to cook chicken, or I'm here to seat people. Those were the jobs.
Wow.
Not provide sexual entertainment for middle-aged underemployed dudes
that are probably not showering regularly. What was were you I would be so terrified, if I'm honest, of stepping into that and feeling so vulnerable. So because you were in high school, what was what made you feel safe?
Yeah, so it was really important to me for lots of reasons to not be killed and murdered.
Oh, really? You're the only
mostly
weird.
Yeah, so there's the obvious stuff, right? Like being alive is better.
It's good.
But also, I was a middle-class kid who was doing sex work to prove a point, right? I had no survival needs that I had to meet. So if I ended up dead, then I'd be wrong.
Yeah.
Which felt worse to me.
Yeah, agreed.
Than the violence. You know, like, I was like, maybe prostitution is fine. That's my hypothesis going into this. So I was really extra about screening, which was also made possible by my privilege, right? Because I didn't have rent, because I didn't have like urgent needs that could only be met with money, it was very easy for me to say, no, I'm sorry, man, like I need more information before I can meet with you. Or like, I don't know, that email made me feel weird, I'm just not gonna respond. Or like, I was looking for reasons not to see clients because this was recreational for me, which I think is really important.
Yeah.
To say that, like that if you want to increase people's options, then one of the first things that you should do is increase their access to resources. And it makes it easier for folks to step away from clients they don't feel comfortable with or setting boundaries because they have their needs met, which was certainly my case. So, you know, in order to book an appointment with me, you had to send me a nice email. I needed your real name. I needed to know where you worked. And I needed the name and contact information for 2 other providers that you had seen and presumably not killed or upset in some way.
Presumably.
So then what I would do, presumably, right? So then I would, you know, take that information. The first thing that I would do is reach out to both of the providers. I did not need to hear back from both of them. I only needed to hear back from one of them, but I did need 2. After I got some kind of feedback, like, yes, I did see this person, or, you know, I don't remember that person, or, yeah, they're great, they have a foot thing, or like, you know, whatever information is exchanged, then I would call to confirm their identity with their employer. So I didn't really need any information about them. I just needed to know that they work where they said they worked, right? So this looks like looking up where they say that they work, calling them, and then just asking for them by name. And so if the person on the other end of the line says, yeah, no problem, I'll connect you immediately, then you hang up. If they say so-and-so doesn't work here, that's the end of the interaction. I'm never gonna meet that person in person. Once the appointment happens, if it's an in-call, it means that they're coming to me. If it's an out-call, it means that I'm going to them. In either case, before I cross the threshold or they cross the threshold, I need to see their ID. So this will look like me standing in the hotel hallway, or it will look like them standing in the hotel hallway while they hand me their ID, and I confirm that the name that they gave me matches, that I did all of the background check work on, matches the name that I did all of this work on. Wow. And so that's, once somebody does all of that, it's a pretty safe bet that the, you know, spectrum of bad things that can happen is pretty mitigated at that point. Yeah.
At the news, the one time I did get in real trouble was we would do these things where, you know how they go, and sports with Paul Morrissey, and they would have you like kind of like spinning around.
Anchorman did a spoof with this. I love it. Yes.
So the owner of the station had paid like a lot of money for these like animations of us, you know, doing that. And so when it was basically like it would just have you like spinning around, you know. And so when the camera cut to me, I was the weekend anchor, so we could get away with murder on the weekends because nobody was there. You know, the stills people were off for the weekend and stuff. So they would cut to me from like the me spinning around thing from Paul Morrissey. And then when the camera came out to me, I had a chair that spun, so I would just still be spinning when they came to me,
yes.
like in a circle. And that Monday morning, the owner just called me in, and I knew he didn't like me, but this was like the first time where he's like, we paid a lot of money trying to look like a first-class organization, and you just make fun of it. It makes us look like assholes. And I had a news director that really protected me from that guy, because he was like, no, he's good. He's really funny. But he just knew I was kind of a little bit of a loose cannon. And, you know, the owner, here's another thing he would have me. There was like a racquetball championship, but it was just like all these old rich guys playing racquetball, and he would want me to cover, like, to do that for a sports segment for his buddies, you know. And I was just like, fuck that, you know. And even my sports director was like, just do it because it's, you know, the owner. And so I went down there and I made a point, like they're all drinking beer in between, like they're all out of shape. So I would literally like take, shots of them like drinking beer or a guy smoking, and then and then like he'd never asked me to do it again after that.
Gee, I wonder why. How many customer service jobs have you had total, would you say, like roughly?
I think, depending on your definition, 9 or 11. Like
9
if my
or
work
11.
study jobs in college, it would be 11.
Okay. Talk to me about what are those? What were these jobs?
So, buy low, my grocery store.
Buy low.
Then we go to college. Oh, no. So buy low, and then summer after high school, telemarketing. Have you had telemarketers on before?
Oh, yes, but I want every detail. I want every detail. Yeah. I had a guest on who, Kristen Meisner, who loved it.
What?
Loved it. Lived for it. Loved. She was like, I was a problem solver.
God
I
bless
loved
her.
it. Yeah, she said she would go back to it today. And I was like, ma'am, so please tell me everything.
I did it 3 different times.
Girl.
So this job was famous in my town because so let's say like I make $5.95 in my thoughts.
Yeah.
But this job paid you $9 an hour. So that's
almost double.
big money. Yeah.
That is big money.
So
Okay.
because it's so horrible. And so it was famous in my town. So you'd walk, and this is the 90s, so people could smoke in public.
Yes.
And you would have to go to work, and you'd walk through like 40 smokers right outside the door, just like, because they were just all coming down from the job, like, puff, 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 puff. And you got it. It was like, it's okay. It's
You're like,
okay.
give me one of those. I get it.
I'll see you in 20 minutes. And then you had to do surveys. So first, this job was so horrible that it would get people. So if you didn't want to work, and this never was my I never did this, but people's friends would call in bomb threats so that you'd be working. And it was so bad that then it would be like, there's a bomb threat. Everybody clear the floor, and everybody would go downstairs and smoke until the police or whoever comes for bomb threats would clear it. But it happened weekly, like
Rachel.
Yeah, not my people.
No, of course, of course not. But
I wasn't sad when there was a bomb threat. I was like, oh.
Like, how would you know if it were legitimate?
Because it happened all the time. It was like when I lived in a dorm and there were fire drills all the time. Like somebody just got drunk and pulled the fire alarm.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and it just happened. And this is before life was like that. There weren't bombs and like there weren't stuff like that.
Yeah,
so I'm sure it'd be different now.
Yeah. Okay.
We were churning butter. We weren't worried about bombs.
What's a bomb? Has that been invented? Okay.
But I had to do one survey, so I'll call you.
Okay.
I don't tell you. I don't even know if I tell you my name.
Let's do it. Okay, ring.
Okay.
Hello.
So hi, this is Rachel calling from some weird third party you've never heard of.
Oh.
And this is my favorite one. So this is the gastrointestinal survey. In the last 6 months, have you had diarrhea?
Yes.
Vomiting?
Yes. I'm very sick.
Painful cramping relieved by a bowel movement?
Every day.
So I had to call
Wait, so would I have to consent to that survey? That girl.
I don't warm it up.
Clothes.
We just go right in.
And raw.
And I'm asking you about your poop. And it was my most successful survey.
Fuck off.
Right.
Well, people love talking about that because they don't get to, I guess.
When it was like belching was a question, and a guy went, ugh, does that answer your question? I was like, no, sir. I need a yes, no, or unsure.
You're on a recorded line. Okay. Wait, was it a generalized, like...
They just had different clients. So you were on,
okay.
I was on the gastrointestinal. You'd go in and you'd find out what you were on.
Did you pick the poop one?
No.
Oh, it was just assigned to you.
But I lucked out.
Yeah, you did.
It was a good, like,
That's
I
a
would
fun
be
one.
like, was something wrong with my water? Like if somebody called me and started asking me about painful cramping relieved by a bowel movement.
Yeah, I'd be nervous.
What's going on?
Yeah. Why are you asking me?
Who are you? And it's like, this is Rachel calling from ABC that you don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Well, what is that? Mm-hmm.
So what was it gathering
know
data
what it is.
for? Was it like the American Medical Association?
Don't know.
Oh, you still don't know?
Don't know.
Ooh,
yeah, I was
super
just
secret.
a cog in the wheel, the corporate wheel.
Okay. So poop was one. Did you have other?
Sure.
Okay.
But who knows? I don't remember.
But it was cold calling, asking people these questions. It was not to like sell timeshares and shit like that.
No.
Okay. But you said you did telemarketing a couple times?
3 times.
3 times. So when you say 3 times, that means not 3 years in succession. That means you returned to the job 3 times.
Just like your buddy that you said. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good skill. Is
it?
Yeah.
Did it make you crazy though? Like you're just on the phone all day.
It's endless.
Yeah.
So like hang up. So here's my tip to people. If you get a telemarketer, don't be a jerk.
Yeah, be kind.
Listen to my spiel and say no thank you.
Yeah.
And then I say, okay, not interested. But if you're like, "Ugh," then I just go, call back in 5 minutes. Like click. I'm doing it with my fingers. You just go like, control 4.
So you could put them back in the rotation?
Sure. Call back right away. Didn't answer.